Hi, welcome back. We are going to be making lemon curd from our textbook today. I've never made lemon curd, so we'll see how it goes. But we are going to make two iterations, one with the normal amount of sugar and one with half the amount of sugar, because I believe the less sugar will cause the curd to be thicker and set quicker. We are going to start with our control one with the normal amount of sugar, and we are going to take our great value grade A large eggs and separate out the yolk. So I am going to be halving the recipe today, so we are going to be using 2.5 yolks. And to get the half, I measured out a half tablespoon, because normally a yolk is about 1 tablespoon. The eggs are our star of our show today because they have natural proteins that are single coils that unwind with heat and then almost immediately bind back together to make a three-dimensional mesh, which causes the thickening of our custard. We are going to add our eggs to our top of our double boiler, as well as adding some great value white sugar. We are going to add 1 full cup of said sugar. The sugar granules are so large that it gets in the way of the proteins from the eggs bonding back together when heated up. So it will cause the custard to set a little bit slower, as well as be a little bit thinner. Next, we are going to add half a stick of our great value sweet cream salted butter. This will aid in the setting process when it cools, as well as add a little bit of flavor. Next, I'm going to zest 2 lemons. This will give it its main flavor and also give it a lot of aromatic notes. And after we're done zesting these 2 lemons, we are going to juice them. I don't own a citrus juicer, so I juiced it by hand with a spoon. It was messy, and I want to focus on getting it into the cup I used, so I didn't record it. But next, we are going to strain the juice of all its pulp and seeds. A seed got through, so I went back and removed that. But the lemon juice is acidic, so it's going to help the curd set quicker. Next, we are moving to our double boiler, which heats the bowl with steam, which is an excellent way to control the temperature. It slowly heats up our curd, giving us a larger window before the eggs start to scramble. Once the butter is fully incorporated, we are going to continuously stir the mixture until it starts to thicken, which is when the denatured proteins of the eggs start to bond back together to create that matrix. Even though the book says it should take about 5 minutes, it took about 9 minutes for mine to start to thicken. Once it does start to thicken, we are going to remove it from the heat and continue to stir it. The leftover heat from our bowl should be enough to thicken it while we stir without risk of scrambling. We are going to stir our custard until it's thick enough to coat a spoon, which is a test described by the book. To perform this test, you dip a spoon into the custard and remove it. When you drag your finger across the back of it, there should be a line left, similar to what my custard did here. Next, I transferred it to a cold bowl, which I was chilling with ice, but I had forgot to strain it, so I had to transfer it to another cool bowl that I was preparing for my next custard so I could strain it. This time I found my metal strainer, so we could get all the chunks out and not have to worry about any spillages like with a fork. And it took a long time to get it all through, so I'm not going to make you watch all of my straining. To finish up this custard, I'm going to put plastic wrap on top of it, touching the surface of the custard to prevent a film from forming. Then I'm going to refrigerate it for a few hours while I am making my other custard. As we move on to the second one, we are going to use the same processes as we used in the first one. We are going to use 2.5 egg yolks, and I actually had an older egg yolk which burst on impact when moving to the main bowl. Then we are only going to add 1/2 cup of sugar, which I believe will create a curd that will set quicker and be thicker because there'll be less stuff in between the proteins of the eggs rebonding. Then we are going to add a half stick of butter, and we are going to add the zest of 2 lemons and the juice of those same 2 lemons. Now we are going to add it to the double boiler and Stir it until it is the same texture as the other one was when we took it off the oven. Once off the heat, we are going to continue stirring it until it's thick enough to coat a spoon. Then we are going to strain it into another bowl and saran wrap it where the plastic touches the surface to prevent the film. These are my two final results after letting them refrigerate it for a few hours. The one on the left is with the full amount of sugar, and the one on the right is with half the amount of sugar. They are very similar in texture, but I would say the one on the right is slightly thicker, just a little bit. The one with half the amount of sugar also took about a few minutes less to set. It took about 9 minutes for the first one to set and about 7 minutes for the second one to start to set. The second one is a lot more bitter because it doesn't have the sugar content, but overall I think they are really good, just slightly different. One thing I would say is that I probably could have left them on the stove for a little bit longer. I was really afraid of scrambling the egg that I took them off a little bit too soon, but I like the consistency. I just feel like it could have been thicker.